Hey everybody, welcome back to our webinar series with CTAA and CALSTART. I am Mike Hines, National Transit Bus Program Manager. Excited to have you all with us today for webinar number 3. We'll be talking about route energy modeling and total cost of ownership, 2 components of the total process in fleet transition planning. So we're excited to go through this highly technical information with you today. Some good stuff. As always, we'll have time for questions. And I'm excited to have with us today our 2 panelists who will be discussing, again, route energy modeling. Aditya Kushwaha, Technical Project Manager for our bus demo team on the CalSTART bus team. And Maureen Marshall will be walking us through total cost of ownership. Maureen is Senior Director for our Midwest Regional Office. Just a brief agenda. We'll go through route energy modeling. We'll have time for questions. We'll walk through the total cost of ownership and also have time for questions. As always, feel free to raise your hand, throw a question in the chat. We want to make sure that we're being mindful of any questions you may have, so feel free to include them. And as always, we'll have time at the end. So with that, I would like to turn it over to my colleague Aditya, who will walk us through route energy modeling. Aditya.
Thanks, Mike. Nice to see everyone. Thank you. So this is route energy modeling, and basically, in a very brief manner, I will explain. It is a tool which is designed to estimate the energy consumption, or to say like the performance of any particular type of bus and trucks on a very unique routes. There are like 4 main goals which are considered while designing the tool. The first one is to basically independent tool for buses and trucks to determine the energy consumption on a specific route, and to create a tool which is independent of Altoona duty cycle, because there are like various reasons why we wanted to have it independent of duty cycle, because every single route in let's talk about the US standpoints, like every single route different from other one. So we wanted to create a tool which is able to estimate the energy consumption, or let's say hydrogen consumption, on that very specific route where that bus is going to operate. So that is one of the goals. Then the second goal is to reduce the complexity of the model, make it simplest yet intuitive, so a user can easily access the tool and can get a sense of what kind of energy consumption is going to be observed by these buses. Then the third goal which we consider in the tool is to how we can actually realize how we can actually use the real duty cycle compared to keeping the Altoona duty cycle. So we integrated the GIS systems with the tool. So actually it gives a little bit independence to the user to actually define their own route duty cycles, and not to stick with the generalized duty cycle which provided by Altoona testing agencies. And that's how we are able to say like, okay, it is the tool which can tell us the energy consumption on any specific route, or it allow a user to customize their own route. Like if they wanted to willing to actually define or like come up with a future tentative route, they have ability to do that. And the fourth goal is we wanted to provide ability to user to define their own specific route, or to actually, instead of creating route, they can actually use their pre-existing files, which is GDFS file, like how they can simply upload their GDFS file, and based on that they can run the analysis. So these are the 4 main goals which we consider while developing the route energy modeling tool. Maureen, can you shift to next slide? Thanks. So these are the 4 main I would say the steps which are considered in the route energy analysis, which is inputs, then some auxiliary inputs, then calculation, and then that's how you'll get the results. So what basically we are gathering in the input is all the necessary data related to the GDFS files, where user can directly upload the GDFS or GeoJSON or KLM file type of format into the tool, and can go and select their specific routes, whatever the route they wanted to analyze based on what the GDFS they input, and then on that the tool allowed them to use the specific bus type, whatever they wanted to analyze it for, whether it is a class 1, class 2, class 4, class 5, or class 8. And once the user select those type of class, the tool itself have a database for a lot of vehicles, where we have like more than 200 different type of OEMs, so they can actually choose the bus based on the OEMs. Also, at the same time, the tools allow the user to define much more auxiliary inputs, where we are considering the route characteristics, such as the environmental ambient temperature condition, wheelchair load, and the ridership data. Like a lot of times what we have observed, all these buses are kind of like, sometimes they have like a 20 passengers, sometimes they have like 1 passenger, and even sometimes they don't have any of the passenger, which kinds of impact on the energy consumption. So tool allowed them to actually define these kinds of auxiliary input. If in case they have auxiliary wheelchair load, they can choose that and they can put it into the tool. And once these inputs are completed, the tool itself do the calculation behind a wall. You'll not be able to see that what kind of calculation going on, but it kinds of calculate what's the energy consumption going to be based on the topography, route characteristics, based on the temperature condition, and then finally it tells us the range of energy consumption throughout the year. So the beauty of the tool, it's not going to a fixed number of like X kilowatt hour per mile or X kgs of hydrogen per mile. It tells you the range of energy consumption or hydrogen consumption throughout the year, because a lot of time during winter seasons, the energy consumption is going to be completely different compared to during the spring or fall season. And there are like multiple factors which I wanted to cover here, is like there due to this seasonality, and there is like the range, the energy consumption is going to be changes. So that's the reason behind it, why we are saying the tool is provided us the range instead of providing us one average number. And then based on that, additionally, tools define what kind of how it's going to be completing their daily rides. Basically, in a single depot charging, if we just not thrown for the route, on route charging based on just only depot charging, how many laps a bus or a van or a like truck can do in a single run. All right, so once we have that, there are like some additional things which provides us a very good view from the route energy modeling. It's one of the thing is, at the same time, the tool can analyze the performance of various different buses. So like, let's say if a user choose one particular one route, and they wanted to analyze which bus is performing better on one specific route. So what I'm showing you in this slide, so we analyze, like in a single go, we can analyze up to like 10 vehicles. So right now the picture is showing only for 2 vehicles on the same particular route, which you can say a REM analysis, vehicle option 1, vehicle option 2. So it identifies which particular vehicle is going to be performed much better by considering other variables constant as the same, like the ridership, passenger load, the topography, and things like that. The one other thing is for what I'm showing in the top left corner, bottom left thing, is how the tool is actually determine the their daily frequency of a fixed not or for the vehicles which operates on a non-fixed route. So basically a dial ride, or in easier way we can call it like a Uber for bus. So for that, the tools also takes an additional input, like if they have like if a user want to analyze it for a non-fixed route, then the user need to upload a ridership data, which is basically how the dial ride vehicle operates. So basically an operating schedule, what time those dial ride buses or like vans go for the service, where they go, what time they are operating, and through that it determines the charging window, because these buses or like vans are not operating on a very fixed time. It changes time to time. So for that, a user need to upload their ridership data set, and which brings us to this particular one photo. It analyzes individual vehicle frequency related to their performance, like how frequent they are on the service, what would be the time window for their charging. So that's what is showing in the bottom left corner photo. On the bottom right side, what I said initially is how the tool determines the range of energy consumption. So you can see the bus performance on different seasons, so which is showing like what it is going to be in winter, what the energy consumption is going to be in summer, and what energy consumption is going to be spring and fall. There's one additional point which is kind of like really new for us, is like a lot of time we notice like some of these buses does not have like HVAC, which is directly powered from the battery. So it have a HVAC system which is powered through an external fuel. It could be propane or it could be natural gas or something like that. So we actually analyze the performance of the bus based on how the battery system, how the main battery or main like let's say hydrogen tank or like the hydrogen consumption is going to be. So it also tells us if the vehicle have like external fuel fire heater or HVAC system, how it what would be the energy consumption of vehicle. So Marine, next slide please. All right, so this is what the final report gonna look like from that particular tool. Once you run the calculation, it allows you to download a specific report for individual routes, or for entire, or if a user wants to download it for all the routes which they are operating, they can do that as well. But this is going to be a summarized report is going to be look like this, which tells you about where the route is standing. So over here, the route is kind of like showing in the red dot on the right hand side of corner, and it tells you what vehicle the user chooses, what's the electric bus, what's the energy requirement per lap, and what's the energy consumption. So over here it says like during the good weather condition, the energy consumption going to be somewhere close to 3.37 to and the worst case, the energy consumption is going to be 4.26 kilowatt hour per mile. Marine, next please. And that tells you about the introduction to the tool again, which says like what all the parameters we are considering in the tool, which says like what's the vehicle capacity, what's the vehicle weight, what are the passenger, what are the route characteristic, HVAC system, and things like that, and how CALSTART kinds of like came up with this tool. So it is mostly like the introduction of the tool. Marine, next please. And these are all the listed assumptions which we consider behind on all the calculation. Like we considered the testing report from the Altoona, what's the OEM claimed, or like what's the tested fuel economy of that particular bus. And based on that, we calculate, but we need it as an input. And we just came from, we have like all those predefined buses, we already have it. But if in case a user didn't find their specific bus, they have the tool provide them an option to upload a specific type of bus or whatever they want to. But for that, they have to also upload their Altoona testing report to actually run for those buses, and or to make or to do the calculation for that particular bus. Marine, next slide please. So this is what it looks like in the input summary. So it tells you about what all the inputs by is done by the user. It tells them it tells you a specification about the route, which is maximum and minimum elevation, what is the ridership, if they define any additional load or auxiliary load, it comes into this table. And the second table shows you about the bus specification, like what's the type of bus, what's the battery capacity, what's the fuel economy from which is claimed from OEM or came from Altoona, what's the weight of the bus, and if there is an additional wheelchair load associated with that bus or not. Next slide, please. And this tells you basically what's the energy consumption is going to be in a single lap. So on the very first row, it tells you about the total energy consumption on single lap and total energy consumption in terms of kilowatt hour per mile. Then it tells you what would be the regenerative braking for that particular vehicle. And then it tells you about the energy, what would be the energy which is coming if the vehicle is going to downhill. So basically it tells you about the regenerative braking in much more broader specs. And then the next thing, it tells you how we are considering the space heating factor and how we are coming up onto the overall energy consumption throughout the year. So Marie, next slide, please. So that's again the same photo which I showed you earlier. It tells you like this particular specific vehicle, the performance during the winter season, during summer season, during the spring and fall. Like for an example, during winter season, the energy consumption per mile is going to be look like 4.26 kilowatt hour per mile. The total energy for that particular lap is going to be 102 kilowatt hour per mile, and number of trip that can be made without going for an on-route charging or just depending on a single time depot charging. The bus can do like a 2 trips for that particular route. And same goes for summer, same explanation for that, like what's the energy consumption in terms of per mile, in terms of trip, in terms of total energy consumption gonna look like for the summer, and same goes for winter for spring and fall. And the other thing is like if the bus is exposed with external fuel fired heater, then this would be the energy consumption gonna look like, because there will be only energy consumption is going while the with the movement, and there is no energy consumption with the HVAC system. So this is kind of like, oh, there is one more. All right. So this is another thing which we added to route energy model. It's basically it's tell you like so right now it's tell you the overall battery SOC status while it's going from stop to stop. So basically, if you'll see there is a one right like bright or like a dark green thing on the very starting point, and it says like the starting point, the battery SOC is 100%, and when it goes along with the route, it goes a little bit lighter. It's basically telling you what's the battery SOC along with and how it's going to decrease along with the route. Next slide, please. And this one is more like the energy consumption and relation between the battery SOC based on the distance that particular vehicle is going to be covered. So this is very standard type of graph which tells you about the route characteristics. So basically the topography of that particular route where the vehicle is going to be operate. The green line indicates the energy consumption. So basically it's telling you how the battery SOC is going to reduce when the vehicle operates from 0 to 20 miles, and it indicates like where the regenerative is occurring. So it is easily noticeable that it is not a straight line. You can see a little bit ups and downs in this particular line. It's just because we are accounting for the regenerative braking as well. And it tells you after completion of 20 miles, what would be the energy consumption into a single lap. So that's how we calculated the overall energy consumption on a one single route. And that's all about the route energy modeling.
Thanks, Aditya. That was great. If anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I did have a couple follow-ups, if I may, just quickly. So I'm an agency. I've put in all my information into the fleet intake form. So I've kind of built that baseline of what my existing fleet is. And then, going through the modeling to see, what my potential solutions are as I'm transitioning zero emission. I believe I heard you say that, through route energy modeling, I'm not tied to a particular fuel type. So I could see what battery electric would be for my
Exactly.
system, or I could see what fuel cell would be for my system. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's very correct, Mike, and thanks for this question. It allow a user, if they wanted to stick with electric or they wanted to choose it with hydrogen. If the user choose both, they'll get like both the analysis results. Like, okay, this is the specific folder for hydrogen, where they can download a similar type of report for the hydrogen and a similar type of report for electric. So, and if in case a user thinks about like, okay, they already knew about it, they don't want to proceed with the hydrogen, or they don't want to proceed with electric, they can choose any of the option to analyze for whatever they wanted to choose. So it's always like, what's a user preference?
Great, fantastic. And the report that you just showed us kind of walk through, that's a report that the transit agency gets, correct? So they have that to see all the results. They can go to their boards or whoever their decision makers are. So they have all the material. Great.
Yeah, it's basically we are expecting, whenever I say user, I like it's going to be a transit agency, because they are the only person which I am assuming they'll be using the route energy modeling tool. So this is the final report, and I put it in the slide. Basically, it's a PDF of 8 pages, and these are the snapshot of all the 8 pages, so they can download the in that zip folder, which a tool will allow. Once they complete the analysis, they'll get this report in that particular folder.
Great, fantastic. Looks like we had one question.
Add a little bit. Yeah.
Yep, please.
Yeah. Do you have a question?
We had one just come in. Do you access the bus CAN or OBD systems?
Sorry, what? Can you repeat that one more time?
The question is, do you access the bus CAN or OBD systems, the bus CAN or OBD systems?
We can, but we do not for this data collection. This data collection straight from the GIS or route tool. The CAN means the communication area network, or the onboard diagnostic connector. So that's typically the telematics data that we use to fill in a lot of our tools. So I'll turn that over, Didier, to you.
Yeah, so we do use, but not at the step of route energy modeling, because these this what we are expecting from user, this is like a pre-deployment process. So basically this helps them to identify, okay, what it is going to be, the energy consumption look like if they deploy an electric or a hydrogen buses. So this is actually pre-deployment model. It is not like a post-deployment model where we actually get the estimates from the bus or like from telematics. So we have like a different tool to analyze it, like what we are saying as a theoretical result. Is it coming to similar or like what's the difference between theoretical and real life results? So to answer that question, in this REM tool, considering this as a pre-deployment model, we do not needed any kind of CAN communications, or like all the data which was coming through the CAN communication.
Yeah. What this tool is really great for is if you're a transit and you're thinking, well, which bus do I want to go with? Do I want to go with the 25-foot? And if so, which model, or 30-foot or 40, or even 65-foot? You can run this analysis on the different vehicles, make some models, and kind of come to a determination which models and which vehicle types can make the routes, correct?
Yeah, that's very good point. And on top of that, I've just wanted to add one more thing. Like based on this energy consumption, Mike, you will evenly you analyze like, okay, this is the energy consumption, this is the energy needs for those buses. Like what Maureen said, like let's suppose if a user choose like, okay, I wanted to do it like 40 feet bus, right? So they'll have a energy consumption, and which is through this energy consumption, they can define, like they can actually analyze what kind of infrastructure they would be needing. Maybe they would not be needing like a level 3 or like a DC fast charger, probably considering a van where the energy consumption is, let's say 50 or 60 kilowatt hour in a day. Level 2 charger would work best for them, which is a much more cheaper option compared to a DC fast charger. So that's how we say it's a pre-deployment model, which tells you about the vehicle's performance start telling you about what kind of infrastructure you will be needing.
Awesome, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We can get to them, so please feel free to do so. No other questions right now. I will turn it over to Maureen. We'll talk about total cost of ownership. Maureen, take it away.
Thank you, appreciate it. You know, as we look at these tools are really important as they provide the details and the guidance that the fleets need to make the pre-deployment decisions. And so total cost of ownership, again, kind of feeds off of the RIM tool as well. As Aditya showcased, you know, we're in this phase 2, as we call development period, where we're looking at the technology analysis, the infrastructure assessment, and baked in the middle of that is a total cost of ownership tool, which I'm excited to showcase today. So we have this available to everybody. We'll share the link afterwards or in the notes of this meeting. We've developed this for one of our clients out of California, CARP, and it's useful for across the United States. I'm going to walk you through the key steps of a total cost of ownership model, and if needed, we also run this for mini transits across the United States. So here we're doing an example of a Michigan transit. They're public. They currently are running a diesel vehicle transit bus from 40 foot to 59 foot. It's classified as a heavy duty bus, and again, in the same realm of what Didier showed, same vehicle, the New Flyer bus. So in this first step, we gather all of the fleet details to understand the current fleet and the buses that you're looking at. In the next step, we consider incentives. Here, I'm the Midwest Regional Director, so we don't have a lot of incentives, but we do have some rebates and different elements that we could feed into here. So if you had incentives available to you, you would dial in that information here on the screen. And as well as you're part of the California Low Carbon Fuel Standard Program, you would dial that in through a yes/no answer. And this just helps feed in that total cost of ownership final amount. The third step, this is something that's new in our latest total cost of ownership model, is charging infrastructure. So we have the ability now to look at the charging infrastructure and the cost for the utility upgrades, the cost for charging stations. And within this model, you're able to hand input what you believe or what you know that one-time utility upgrade cost is here. Here, I'm using a value of 20,000. Again, it could be less, it could be more. But for the interest of an example, we're going to go with 20,000 here. Do you want to include the purchase of charging stations in your total cost of ownership model? You could look at just the vehicle alone, or you could also bring in the charging station. And so for this example that we're running through today, we put in yes. We can then select what type of charging stations we want here based on kilowatt availability. So here we're looking at a level 2, which is a charger that's less than 20 kilowatts. 20 kilowatt hours. So therefore, we have that selected. How many ports do you want? So as many of you know, you can have 1, 2 to up to 4 ports now. Here I selected 2. I selected the charge point, CPF 50 model. And then how many chargers do we want to include in this analysis? And here I have 2. Moving on to putting in the vehicle and finance assumptions. So here, starting from the left and moving over to the right here on the screen, we look at the fleet size and the clean vehicle purchase count. So for this example, we're looking to purchase 1 clean vehicle. Our total fleet size in this example is 112 vehicles. We then dial into the vehicle duty cycle so that we understand how the vehicle is being used on a daily basis, as well as per year. So using this example, this vehicle is traveling 325 miles per day, 5 days a week, or 260 days per year. This automatically gives you a calculation of the vehicle miles per year, which equates to 84,500 miles per year. Moving on into the next section, you can dial in your vehicle service life. Again, this can be anywhere from 0 to whatever amount you are running your vehicles for. In this example, we're using a 14 for the years. The sales tax rate here, in Michigan is 6%, so we dialed in 6%, and we're looking at getting this vehicle next year in 2024. I did not include any federal excise tax or any depreciation tax, and so in both of those next answers, the answer is no. Moving on over to the far right here, we look at the maintenance and the discount rate percentages. Here we use 3 and 2. And then if we can, the system will actually provide you based on the average numbers across each individual state or location that you chose up front. But here I chose to override it because this entity that we're working with has a lower cost price for their diesel, and they're currently paying $2.98. And then they're also working with a local utility with a demand rate and regular service charges that come out to 11 cents per kilowatt hour. So we were able to override that and dial it in specifically to this location. You can also do that for the preset estimates, because when we look at the baseline vehicle purchase, we have that data and that will automatically populate. But here we have direct quotes that we're working against. So here I overrode the baseline or current internal combustion engine vehicle for $534,000. I then also overrode the purchase of the clean vehicle. It was only off by 50,000, but I figured, hey, we want to look at actual numbers here. So it was $1,050,000. And then the baseline fuel efficiency, I overrode that and made it 3.4 miles per gallon. The system before the override was 3.5. Again, just slight differences to dial it in. Looking at the clean vehicle fuel efficiencies, we dialed it into 1.9 kilowatt hours per mile. And then I kept the baseline cost in the clean, the cost for maintenance for the clean vehicle, meaning the zero emission vehicle, the same as what the tool provided. And once all this data is entered into the system with a simple click of a button, and you're able to get the output, which reflects basically, you know, what is our return on investment? So these charts are available in that output, actually on the same screen in which you're working in within the total cost of ownership model. As you'll see on this chart on the left, the diesel, again, you'll see it overall is more expensive to operate over that 14-year life cycle than the battery electric, and your payback period is about 7 years. And so that's that cross point at 7 years there where the battery and the diesel line cross together. We also provide a breakdown of the cost variances between diesel and battery electric. As I talk about this too, I want to highlight that hydrogen is also available in compressed natural gas, propane, and other fuels to do this side-by-side comparison. But for the interest of today, we're looking at battery compared to diesel. So as you look at the vehicle capital expense on the right-hand side there, as I mentioned, the battery vehicle was $1,050,000. The diesel vehicle being $534,000. So you can see that side-by-side comparison in a bar chart for visual purposes. Looking at the fuel costs, and we did not have any LCFS credits here, but as you can see, the fuel cost for the battery electric is significantly less than diesel. The maintenance plus insurance, again, as you'll see, the battery is much lower, not significantly, but lower. And the overall total cost, total real cost differential is shown there as well. So in this example, the total real savings, including the purchase price of the vehicle, is $718,397 with that payback period of about 7 years. Within this same report, you're able to get the financial output as well. So that percentage of savings around fuel comes out to be 77% or $70,025. The estimated annual maintenance savings, cost savings, is 26%, or about 22,000 per year. If you looked at the lifetime savings, not including the purchase price, you'll be saving about 1.3 million per year, or lifetime over the 14-year lifetime of the vehicle. And again, it just gives you more dialed in information about the purchase price. Again, this includes tax and any infrastructure costs that we included, the clean vehicle price plus tax and infrastructure costs, and then the difference. And so there's a positive difference of 569,000 as you look at purchasing a battery over a fossil fuel or diesel vehicle in this case. And again, this is really great information for folks to have as they're considering their transition to zero emission. As you'll see in this example, they had 112 40-foot transit buses in their fleet, and the total estimated savings across all of those vehicles, including the vehicle purchase price, was about 8.6 million over that 14-year period. So a really significant change in savings. And as you're looking at, boy, do I want to go down this journey? What is in it for me? This tool allows you to dial in on that information. And so with that, I would like to open it up to any questions. What I really like about this tool is that, we've done side-by-side comparisons of like a propane vehicle against a battery electric, and especially like in a light duty market. And what we've noticed even in that case, that maybe there isn't a positive return on investment because propane is like that one step closer to zero emission, and the cost of the vehicle conversion is so high that it's almost at cost parity with the battery electric. So going to a battery electric vehicle, it's just a pure choice decision at that point. And there's no really additional extra cost that would make you say, oh, I don't want to go in that direction, or I do want to go in that direction. And we're able to run the same TCO on anything from a class 1 vehicle through a class 8 vehicle and across all the different fuel types.
One more additional thing which I want to add on, Marine, that like the tool also allow a user to define the custom inputs for all the type, like for an example, for the energy consumption, for the fuel pricing. Right now, what we have in database for, I would say like we updated like by somewhere in early 2023. But if like, because for an example, gas prices changes real quickly, and we cannot like predict like future gas prices as of now. So the tool provide us the custom inputs to actually to do the real time, like actual comparison for the compared to the fuel. Like we know what's the energy prices for the utility sector, but we don't know the fuel prices. So it tells us, it provide us the custom inputs over there, right? What you are showing. So and also for the maintenance cost as well. So it can help us to actually draw like a real comparison.
Yeah, it's a really useful tool, and it's helped us make a lot of decisions too as we work with transits on their transformation planning, and really helping dial in. And again, between the total cost of ownership and the route energy efficiency model, it really helps give them the, you're making data-driven decisions with actual data points. So it's a really effective tool to help ensure their further success.
Yeah, I think that's key, Maureen. What you just said there is that, going through this process, there's a lot of data that's involved. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made. But in going through this process, you're getting a lot of good information so you can make the right decisions, and you can make the right decisions for your agency. I mean, that's one of the things that I think is really powerful about this whole fleet transition process is that, there is a lot of data, there's a lot of steps, there's a lot of involvement, rightfully so. But the solution, the responses, the answers that you're getting through the process are really tailored to you as an agency. So I think that's really powerful. And using these tools like we showcased here today, you're getting these solutions that, again, are refined for your agency, so you can make the best decision based on what you need, what your particular needs are, what your service levels are, how you operate, where you operate, all these kind of good things. And again, it's all designed to give you that plan that's going to get you to the final destination, if you will, what your ultimate goal is in your transition. So I think it's really great to see these tools demo today, and to see what the information, what the outputs are, because again, it provides the information that agencies like you folks on the call here today need to make the right decisions, so that you're getting the solutions that work for you.
Yeah, and they're pretty clear and, very visual outputs too, I mean, look at the item here to the left, it's very clear to say, wow, you can see where the diesel, payback period is versus the battery, and over that lifespan of the vehicle. And, it's pretty straightforward.
We did get one question in. Does the TCO tool include more frequent tire replacement for battery electric vehicles?
Really good question. And Didi, were you going to jump in there? You're muted.
Yeah, you can answer that.
Oh, I was gonna say we're working to dial that information in as we are going through this transition journey. We're starting to understand those realistic costs that are coming in, battery replacement costs, as well as tires. I don't think we've dialed it completely in yet, but we definitely have it in our bucket list to get added.
I think it's already added. It's already in there. It's we already taken that thing by considering a midlife maintenance cost. So we are considering there is going to be replacement of tires considered in the midlife maintenance cost, which we consider as a overall package, for which include the maintenance for the battery packaging, for an example, for tires or for any other thing. So we do have that thing already accounted. And we just wanted to point it out, we already accounted the scrapping value and the recycling battery cost as well in the total cost of ownership for the battery electric. Just what want to mention.
No, that's great to know. I didn't even know you guys had done that yet. That's awesome. Because, that is one of the points, things we're saying is, there is additional cost. Yes, you don't have to replace your brakes as often, or, maintain fluids like you would on a normal, fossil fuel vehicle, ICE vehicle. But there is some, other costs, it shifts a little bit, but the overall differential is, an improvement over an ICE vehicle.
Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions. As always, feel free to reach out at any time. We're happy to get responses to you. So I want to say thank you to Maureen and Aditya for being with us today. Great information provided. Be on the lookout for the next episode of the podcast, which will be dropping soon, where we'll go into a deeper dive on wrap energy modeling. And we look forward to seeing everyone on the 7th, where we'll be discussing policy related to zero emission transition. So appreciate everyone being with us today. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks all.
Thanks for having us. Bye.